Hello everyone, and welcome back. It's Creative Redundancy back again here with another video, as I live stream it too. Now this video I'm just going to be basically talking about an open talk about blackout or lights out kits. You know, for those times when the grid's down, you don't have any consistent power, lights are out, can't get in the garage, stuff like your microwave stove's not working. And of course, these things can happen for various reasons, and the time it takes to recover from that can be hours to days to weeks, depending on the extent of the damages. So it's time to roll in the opener, or my intro here. Hey everyone, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in and taking the time to check out my content. Like I said, like 5 seconds ago, I'm just gonna be talking about blackout kits, lights out kits. You know, for those times when the grid's down, or whatever the reason is. There's several different reasons that the grid or power could be out, from as major as a C.M.A, coronal mass ejection, or E.M.P, electromagnetic pulse, to something more likely, maybe more common, storms, you know, heavy thunder showers. This could be ice too, as ice can make power lines sag and, well, they'll break. Hey Bob, thanks for dropping in, man. And hello to you too. So, regardless of what causes a blackout, having a kit like a blackout or a lights out kit, online pretty much, you know, if you search one or the other, you'll find videos on it too. But generally, those are the two names that, you know, titles that it would be given. So yeah, regardless of the cost, having a kit like that and some knowledge can help. Now, I'm no expert at power outages. I mean, I've had my fair share. Never anything longer than, I think, six or 7 hours. I've had once during the day, at night, late, early in the morning. I mean, I've seen where it's a, you know, a blackout, but it's rush hour out. So it's very busy during that time. People are trying to adapt, especially if you're driving. You know, you gotta treat every intersection as a four-way stop. Although some people don't do that for some reason. Looks like I got a few more people dropping in. That's cool. Welcome everyone that's dropping in. See that my side chat is starting to fill up. A couple more watchers, so that's cool. Thank you for dropping by. Hey Bruce, thanks for dropping back into my live stream. So, I mean, like I said, a blackout or when the lights go out can be caused by different reasons. But regardless of the reason, having one can help you, smooth out that hurdle in life. Any place in the modern world, any city, any town, the grid can go down in terms of like the lights or it's a blackout. So having something simple items, which I'll go through in a little bit, can, greatly smooth that hurdle out. So you're not stressing about it so much. You get supplies and know it's all ready to go. Like once it starts, and maybe what it's caused from. You can take steps to smooth out that hurdle. Sorry, I keep looking on the side because I'm trying to check out my side chat here. Okay, so yeah. So one of the most common things for a lights out kit or a blackout kit is candles. I mean, candles, there's pros and cons to candles. Fairly inexpensive. Most people can attain them. You can get them at the dollar store, from tea light candles to narrow type of stick candles to, big wide candles that are like 30, 50, 80, $100. Now candles are an open flame. You probably don't need to supplement lighters or matches with it, because it just goes hand in hand. And generally speaking, I prefer those 30, 50, 80 hour candles or tea light candles. I prefer them over the stick candles that are like long and narrow, for one main reason. It's because the center of gravity, like these stick candles are very, very likely to tip over. Like it doesn't take much. Like if this was a stick candle, it'd just be balancing. You might have it in something, or maybe you melted some wax and putting it on a plate, for example. The thing is, because it's so tall, the center of gravity is really, really up high, so it's very easy to knock it over. And for that reason alone, I do not like them. I mean, if it's the only thing you have, well, you gotta do what you gotta do, but in terms of being prepared beforehand, I prefer tea lights or, wider candles, because the wide base makes it harder for it to get knocked over. So, for example, if this was a tea light candle, right, I can burn this, it's not gonna get knocked over as easily as one of those tall, narrow type of candles. So when I get those type of stick candles, I tend to melt them down, use them for fire starters, or melt them into to making a wider candle that would most likely burn longer too. Now, another tip which I've shown in a different video, and I hopefully will remember to add a link and an end card for it, is I've shown this video of when you have to use like tea light candles, for example, by sticking it into water. So let's say, so I'll use this can for example. I would fill it up with just a little bit of water, then stick my candle in there. So even if, or this could be like a bowl or something like that, just enough so it can kind of float, for lack of a better word. So even if it gets knocked over, pets, children, something like that, because you have water with it, there's well, a better chance of it when you get knocked over that the candle will go out because of the water. I mean, the last thing you want when you're using candles, especially if it's one of those, well, it's a blackout, grids down for some reason, for whatever reason, the last thing you want is to have a, well, start a fire inside because, you know, some pet knocked over your stick candle on the table, you know, it, for whatever reason. Just gonna read the side chat real quick, guys. Yes, Bruce. I prefer these pillar type of or contained type of candles more. They're safer. Like I said, you don't want a fire hazard in a situation like a blackout. That's the last thing you need. I mean, especially since even, I mean, emergency vehicle, first responders are going to be doing way different things. I mean, the response time's going to be slow. So, I mean, trying to make things better, not worse. Hello, Kay. Thanks for dropping by, and appreciate you dropping by and leaving a quick side chat comment from what I've been asking. Storm ones and a little cage are safer. I have those need a heat-proof mat too. Yeah, I'll get into that in a little bit. Okay, we're just talking about when, well, the fire, right? I mean, if you can't see, fire gives you light and heat. Very true, Bruce. Fire extinguisher is going to be very helpful. And if you can't get that, you know, at least baking soda, salt, a lid even. I mean, like, those things will help. And I guess as a side note, I mean, make sure, you know, there's nothing nearby these candles. Drapes, anything that can fall onto it. Like maybe a vase, maybe you have some flowers on the table and you got candles. Well, you make sure those flowers are not too close by. So just in case something happens, you know, I don't know. I mean, could this blackout could be caused by a freak storm? You know, your window right by your this table breaks from debris or something flying into the window. Wind blows it over. I mean, well, most likely it would probably put out the candle, but sometimes those candles can, keep going, even though you're trying to blow it out. So yeah, like fire candles, they're cheap, but they can be dangerous. But they do offer light and heat, which could be important, especially if it's in the winter or when it's colder out, because a blackout can happen any time of year, and virtually in any urban town area. No one's everyone's vulnerable. Yes, exactly, Alex. I mean, that's the whole kind of thing you would see in like different movies, uh, maybe on TV. I mean, with the homeless guy in front of a big oil drum lighting on fire to stay warm and stuff like that. A little off topic, but so on the side chat while I'm still talking and talk about the next topic, well, the next area that I'm going to, leave me a comment on the side chat if you've ever been in one, a blackout, or places without power for, and how long, and, what did you learn from it? Were you ready enough, or, you know, did you wing it enough to, make it work? So, anyways, fire is also, you know, dangerous, but it's not electrical, so you don't have to worry about, powering it up with solar, a generator and stuff like that, like flashlights. I mean, it's no brainer, you know, blackout, lights out. If you're trying to make a kid in advance for those situations, yeah, a flashlight is gonna be, you know, obviously you're not have one or want one in it. Now they also have their pros and cons. Flashlights, torches, headlamps. Some are hands free, like a headlamp. Some can be hung up, like a lantern. I mean, there are ways to adapt to make it hands free or to have a diffuser, such as shining your. If you had a bottle of water, you could shine your light into it, and it will diffuse the light because um, water will kind of spread the light more. So, simple bottle can be very useful in a blackout. Oh wow, 90s and hurricane season. Yeah, so you can kind of relate. I've never been in a blackout for more than a day, luckily, but I've had my fair share of them from daytime to nighttime. I mean, it's pitch black at night. I mean, Hopefully there's moonlight, but without the moonlight, no ambient or city or urban or town lights. It's pitch black. You cannot see anything. It's like walking into a cave with no lights. I mean, I remember this one time in the and not the last blackout, but or when the lights went out, but the time before, I went outside. People were still walking around with no lights. For some, they're just walking in the dark, walking their dog in the dark or whatever. I mean, luckily it was during the summer and not during the winter. Because you can easily, if you can't see in front of you, you could easily, well, twist an ankle, for example. Or those times when you think you're stepping on something and you don't realize it's down lower than you think, so you misstep and you almost trip, something like that. Hey, it's Druid Grove. Welcome. Thanks for dropping by. Glad you got a connection so you can check out this live stream of me just talking about blackout, lights out kits, kind of how it happens, why it happens, and things that you can put inside to kind of smooth out that hurdle just in case it happens. Hmm. All right. I'll keep an eye out on the stream. It should be fine. I'm using what direct Ethernet connection, so it's not even Wi-Fi, so I don't have any major lag from using wireless, and my latency is, not the best, but shouldn't be too bad. So yeah, coming back to the flashlights. Flashlights are definitely gonna be safer than any flame source, pretty much. So it's less dangerous. The output of the light, depends on what kind of flashlight you have, how long it goes for, or how many batteries it takes. You know, varies from brand to brand, flashlight to flashlight. Hold on a second. I have my coffee here. Before I go on, as a side note, if you're having issues with live streams, and if you think it's on your end, remember you can tone it down because usually people will stream it as HD. Well, you can downscale it to standard definition, or maybe 360p or 220p. So it'll help, especially if people aren't showing things. If they're talking, if they're showing stuff, you can change it. But as long as you can hear relatively and kind of see what I'm doing or showing, it's gonna be good enough. Good Drake Grove. I'll kind of mention the solar part in a little bit here. So yeah, flashlights, light sources, well, pretty much anything that can, you know, get electricity and drive like an LED. Now, like I said, there's always pros and cons to all this stuff. The big plus is it's safe. You can move it. It doesn't get hot. You can put it pretty much anywhere you want. You cannot do that with an open flame like a tea light or those pillar or 30, 80-hour candles. There's just certain places you won't be able to put them. Like in the corner of a room. Up high, you're probably not gonna do that with a tea light. Because you're gonna be like, it's too dangerous. It's not worth it. Not worth the trouble. Where Something like a flashlight, yeah, you could put it in the corner, a lantern in the corner, it'll be safe. But probably the major con is that you need power to run it. And they are, electronics are vulnerable to a certain degree to electromagnetic interference. Well, for lack of a better word, they can fry. So depending on the cause of the blackout, you know, the electronics might not be working. Maybe it's from a coronal mass ejection or an electromagnetic pulse. So those things may not work. They're good to have because, like I said, you may not know what caused the blackout, but you turn on your flashlight, you'll be like, okay, I get the flashlight on, so it's not, you know, an E.M.P or a coronal mass ejection type of event. So, okay, I get the flashlight, so it's not that. Maybe it's been raining, stormy out, so you're probably like, okay, maybe this is just, a temporary thing. It's just a blackout. Power's just probably knocked out because, pole went down or, a transformer got blown. So at least you would know that. Just gonna read the side chat on what you guys are talking about real quick here. Oh, that's cool, Bruce. That's cool. That's cool. I'll kind of brush by that for very shortly here. Oh, that's cool. Okay, then that you got some stuff that you can use just in case. Now, flashlights or electric lighting, like flashlights and lanterns and headlamps, probably should also include wind-up lights. Dynamo type of lights where you're turning something or squeezing something to make electricity, or you're using solar. You put it out in the sun. I mean, those are great options, especially some of the solar stuff, just because during the day you can just set those out, let them charge, and if the blackout continues, you have something for the nighttime. And stuff like wind up, hand crank, dynamo, solar are good for to supplement your kit, your blackout kit, your lights out kit, just because the power is kind of, how do you say, more renewable. It might not be as bright or last as long on a charge compared to a flashlight that you buy or a headlamp that you buy, but they're good to have also. I mean, I got a few of those in my kits. I've shown off solar lights that I have around here that I use all the time just because I use them to just save power, and it's easier for me. I don't have to, turn on a light just to, use the washroom at night, for example. Oh yeah, I bet, Bruce. Keeping the younger ones entertained, for them it might be the first time, and hopefully it's not the first time, but for them it might be the first time they've seen power go out. They're not used to not being able to run their device, run their smartphones, run their, gaming consoles, TVs, do this kind of stuff. It interrupts them. So, finding stuff that can work for them, like cards, Uno, maybe if you're older, poker. There's board games like, Monopoly, for example. Those can be, can pass by the time. of course, if you're into like making stuff or whatever, I guess you could probably make something while you're waiting for the power to get back on. I mean, for me, the next power outage or when it happens again, who knows what I'd be doing? I might be berating. I might be berating for the next like couple hours just to kill time, or reading a book, for example, which is also another good thing. Let's read some more comments here. And yes, I did just time someone out, so but that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. I'm talking about blackout, lights out kit, things that you might or want to put inside, the reasons why it caused, and stuff like that. So as I read on here, oh, that's cool, Kay. Let's read what she said. I have a tin I keep near my electric cupboard just in case one of the items in a wind-up radio or torch. Oh, torches, power bank for a mobile device, manual tin, a manual can opener. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. First aid, because you don't know what may happen, especially in the dark. Things can happen. Everyone knows that. I mean, like you could trip, slip, just because you tripped over a shoe that's as you're going downstairs or whatever. I mean, it happens. It happens when it's there's light. So I mean, imagine that during the dark. It's fine, Alex. I got it all under control. Yes, organization is important, especially when it comes to preparedness. Because you want, whenever you're preparing for whatever it is, regardless if it's a hurricane from natural reasons to a car kit, that just in case you hit the ditch in the winter, it's minus 30 out or minus 22 Fahrenheit out for you American viewers. Regardless, you want your kit to be organized pretty good and in ways so when you deploy it, it's fast. So you're not messing around with knots, for example, or messing around with like, oh, for some reason my tools are at the bottom of the bag, for example, and trying to prioritize things that you would need right away to have easier access to. So, and coming back around to the blackout or lights out kit, these type of kits, if you do make one, you should probably put it into a very common area of your home. So let's say kitchen, maybe living room, right? Or someone might be close by, because obviously, when the lights go out, it's instantaneous. Everything just shuts off. Everything just turns black. You don't hear anything. So you want to be able to kind of feel your way or try to find that kit that you made. And then, something as simple as having a flashlight or a torch or even a lighter with you on your person can help you in that situation, because even if the lights did go out, you have something on you to use to see, so you can go find that lights out kit. I mean, my the one I'm working on right now has like reflectors on it. It's clear, so I know what it is. I have it in a common area. It's by a telephone sitting, between the kitchen and the living room. Everyone knows where it is. Everyone knows what's inside of it, you know, and everyone knows that if you gotta use it, go ahead and use it. Just reading what everyone says on the side chat here again. Druid Grove wrote, keeping a couple of torches, flashlights. Um, Torch and flashlight, it's the same word. It's because they're in the UK or European. Keeping a couple torches or flashlights in a couple of the rooms in the house, plus beside bedside table and next to the front door. I mean, no, it doesn't have to be expensive. I mean, there's buy quality as much as you can. I mean, if if the only thing you can get is those 9 LED type of free AAA torches or flashlights, well, that's what you can get. If you can get something, that has better battery life, maybe it's waterproof, for example, something like that might be more beneficial, especially if you live in certain areas that are more vulnerable to having power go out because of storms or tropical storms, hurricanes, stuff like that. And as a side note, um, for Druid Grove here, having having a flashlight in the washroom is important. And I mean, if you live in an apartment or have a downstairs type of washroom or whatever, it's pitch black in there. I mean, no one knows when a blackout will come. Yes, obviously no one knows when it comes because there's no, lead time for that. But you, let's just say you don't want to be in a washroom that has no windows, caught in the shower, and the lights go out. I mean, for most people, you'd be like kind of panicking or freaking out just because you'd be like, I gotta, because you can't see what you're doing, so it's hard to get changed. You gotta wipe that water off, put on your clothes and all that stuff. So having a lighter and maybe some sort of torch or flashlight or lantern in those washrooms are beneficial, I think. I mean, you can have shampoo in your hair and be like, oh, I gotta rinse it off, right? That torch that's, just sitting right outside the shower. Oh, lights went out. Oh, hey, at least I can see what I'm doing. Rinse off your hair, dry off your stuff, and get changing, head, head out and, you know, talk to people in the house and all that stuff. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That's good. Bruce. He just wrote that he picked up a bunch of solar lights. Well, solar yard stakes. Well, solar lights, anyways, and using the way that a solar light can recharge a battery to use in a flashlight or a torch, for example. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Keep one charged and one ready to go. Now, like I said, a blackout can happen at any time. It's not always caused by severe storm. And even if it was caused by a severe storm, sometimes it could be kind of, if it was a blackout during the night, it's still happening at the day, power hasn't come back. Sun could be out, or, it's partly cloudy out, so you can get access to solar, you can harness that solar power So just in case it keeps going on, this power outage, you got, you know, some form of lighting for when it becomes dark again. I mean, I've never had a power outage during the winter, so I've never had to light up an area for longer than those 16 hours of darkness. I mean, during the day, honestly, you're probably not be able to see inside for the most part, unless it's downstairs or a room without a window. Yes, you're right, Alex. Um, because I have a bunch of subscribers and I've known people from the UK, so I kind of picked up these terms. So, and I've kind of been using torch and flashlight, lantern, headlamp kind of more interchangeably, but you know, for the most part, they mean the same thing: electric light. That uses electricity to power the light, which is usually going to be an LED. Oh yeah, you're totally right about that, Bruce. Uh, Having a flashlight as an EDC item. I mean, I'm showing the one that I have on my keychain. It's a Streamlight, which I found out a little bit later, but uses one battery. I mean, that's what I have with me all the time. It's relatively close to me. I don't wear that around my neck all the time, but when I'm out, I do always have it, or at least it's close enough by. And something like a lighter would help too. So I'll give you two forms of light. One that's ran chemically, like fire, and one that's electric in its source or power. So depending on what caused the light blackout or the lights to go out, you might at least you have two options. Just in case one doesn't work for whatever reason. At least maybe get you somewhere safer, more resources, or an area that you know that has something you can use. So coming back to the lights. Now there's another form of lights that some people are, you know of. I mean, kids play around with them a lot when you have them. Glow sticks or chem lights. And basically that's another reaction that creates illumination because of it. They range from, a couple hours to, maybe 12 hours. They differ in size and in color. As far as I know, I think green is supposed to be the brightest for a glow stick or a chem light, and I think then comes like white and or orange, and I'm pretty sure red is not as bright. Now, chem lights or glow sticks also have their pros and cons. They can break prematurely, which is bad. I mean, you don't want to be going for a glow stick and find out that it's not working because it's already been broken and so the illumination's already been spent. And those chem lights or glow sticks, their runtime or brightness can vary depending on the ambient temperature. I think if it's warmer, it glows. If it's warmer, like if you stick them in water, for example, if you stick one in warm water, it would actually start glowing brighter, but the duration or the runtime would go down. Now, if you stick it in, if it's colder, like you stick it in ice water, for example, it's gonna be dimmer and go for a little bit longer, so have more duration. So if your house is getting cold, or your place is getting cold, those chem lights might not be as bright. Oh yeah, exactly, Bruce. That's a good point too. I forgot to mention glow sticks, chem lights are, you know, disposable and non-renewable. They're single use. You can't stop the reaction. I mean, you can delay it or speed it up, but you cannot stop it. Now, like I said, those also have their pros and cons. Cons are it's the disposable, non-renewable, and it's not as bright as a flame, a candle, or a flashlight. But they are safe to use, no fire hazard, and then as long as they're working, you crack them open, you're gonna have some light. You don't have to worry about recharging it. But yeah, single use, probably the most, how do you say, the biggest con of it. Now, as a side note, there is some glow in the dark stuff. I know I've never tried it. I've seen videos on it, uh, but as far as I know, that stuff isn't as bright as a glow stick. But they're renewable, but you need a light source to kind of charge them up. Might be good enough to read a book with, for example. So yes, anyone that's watching this after it's been processed, leave me a comment on things that you use for during a blackout type of situation. Is it a flashlight, solar lights, wind up, hand crank, dynamo lights, tea light candles, pillar, 50-hour type of candles, or those kind of church candles, or in the glass, for example, they're like 50, 80 hours. Do you use glow sticks? I mean, personally, I don't use glow sticks just because I just don't like I don't like using single use or disposable or non-renewable things. I mean, if I have to, I have to. Just give me 1 sec here. Let's check on a quick message here. Oh. Okay. Apparently someone can't join this live stream live. So they said they'll catch it later after it's been processed. So checking up on that. So hello to the person that's watching it later on, or anyone else that's watching it later on. Now, depending on how long blackout or when the lights go out, depending how long it goes for, in the first, I think, 4 hours, there's certain steps you probably should be taking, such as gathering everyone into the same room, especially if you have multiple family members or multiple like children or roommates. So if you can utilize a single light source, such as maybe you have a battery operated lantern that runs on 4 AAAs, right? Set that in a common area, and everyone kind of revolves around it. Everyone brings their stuff into that common area, such as a living room. And besides, because depending on the time of day, if it's dark out, well, if it's light out, it's a little bit different, but if it's dark out, security might be an issue. In the cover of darkness, things happen. I mean, people might, try to utilize that time to do mischievous things or criminal activity. So staying together, you know, not only keeps you kind of entertained, talking, maybe playing board games and stuff like that, but it's also there's safety in numbers. Now, I think after the first 4 hours, let's say if it's going from like 4 to like 8, 9 hours or something like that, you're probably don't have to deal with if it's cold outside. Let's say it happens during the winter. Now I haven't had a power outage during the winter, so I haven't gone for that. I've had them in summer, in the spring, and the fall, but never during the winter. But after the first 4 hours, you may want to, cover the windows, uh, maybe put something underneath the door to prevent the draft from coming in, because, depending on how cold it is outside, the temperature inside can start dropping. So, to the point where you might start seeing your breath inside. Now, that's probably not cold enough to freeze your pipes yet, but, give that under, 4 or 8 hours, your pipes might start freezing, which, because water, when it freezes, it expands. You don't want to be popping a pipe in a situation like that. And, pretty much after the first, let's say 4 hours, you know, you should be considering like the water, the heat in the place. Making sure maybe, you're checking your taps and stuff like that. Yeah, you're right, Bruce. Glow sticks they're safe, portable. Their reliability, as long as they haven't been broken, pretty much, they're reliable. And because of this being disposable, let's say, you gotta see inside something, well, you can throw a glow stick in. Something you might not do with like a flashlight or a light source like a lantern or an open flame like a tea light candle. Oh, that's great, Alex. That's great. That's great to hear that you have some lanterns and some tea light candles. And like I said, if you're gonna play around with candles or have that, make sure you have matches or a lighter, like, so you can get it started. Maybe have two lighters or stuff like that. A lighter's generally because these kits are inside a place, they don't move, or they're not meant to be portable. You might as well put a lighter in versus matches. For the same room that this lighter can fit, right? Instead of fitting a bunch of matches in this room, I can fit a lighter that I can get way more lights in terms of an open flame out of. Which, there we go. Consider not clear but bright color lighter so you can easily see it. Check the fluid level with like a light source or whatever. So you can take your light and go like this and be like, oh, my lighter's almost dead on this one, so you can kind of be like take steps in advance to deal with that. Yeah, Bruce, I'm like I said, I haven't been in a blackout during the winter, so I haven't had to try that out. At least not in a scale that, for duration. I mean, I've tried it out, but, small scale, maybe for half an hour, right, for example. But yeah, those kind of uh, flower pot heaters and stuff like that. I've tried one once before with a friend, which is a single tea light. Yeah, it's warm, but it also has this, because it's fire, has the same dangers as fire. So, don't leave it unattended. Make sure there's something to put out the flames just in case, like a fire extinguisher, salt, baking soda, those kind of things will work. I have no idea what you mean about that, Alex. What about my chi? Hopefully your chi can light up the room for you. I see what you mean. Funny, funny. Funny, dude. If you can get that, don't worry. I'll laugh. So let's see, where am I here? So yeah, where it's glow sticks, chem lights, fire, like candles, or electric type of lighting that's powered by battery. Well, it should probably is powered by batteries, but it's rechargeable batteries, solar, hand crank, dynamo, wind up, all those release light. Now another thing I like to add into kind of a lights out or blackout kit is actually those reflective blankets, usually known as a space blanket, mylar blanket. There's lots of them around. I tend to use either the cheap one, the cheap dollar store one, or the ones that I've shown on the channel. I like those. Those are reusable. But coming back to that, because they're so reflective, you could, in theory, I haven't actually done this in the scale where I've covered the wall with it, but you could cover the wall and use it to bounce more light, maybe some more heat around. Especially if you're in one common area with your family or roommates, for example, and you're trying to stretch your resources. Because when the lights go out or it's a blackout, you might not know how long it's gonna be. You hope for it's just an hour or 10 minutes, but it could go longer. You're not sure, especially if you're seeing things like it's still stormy out or there's a blizzard out. You know, consider that it might go longer. So coming back to the mylar or space blanket, because it's reflective, you can put it on the wall, put it on the ceiling, and kind of reflect more light around. Especially if you're only using a few or handful of light sources. So maybe you got a flashlight that runs on one AAA, one AA, or whatever, and you decide to use it because the duration or the runtime is like 12 hours. So you're like, oh, I'll use this and I'll conserve my headlamp for when I need it. Or you're using, and you're using it in conjunction with like one tea light candle, for example. Having that kind of mylar or reflectedness around you can kind of make the room a little bit brighter. Especially if you don't have white walls like I do. I have white walls. But I know some people have, gray walls. Or maybe you're in a room or whatever that has, darker paint, blue paint, or brown paint, for example. With a single flashlight in that room is not going to look as bright in comparison to being in that same room but with white walls, just because it bounces around a lot more. Oh, looks like I got a couple more people dropping in. I'm just checking on the side chat right here. If you're wondering why I keep looking over, it's because I'm trying to read it too. Hey Mark, thanks for dropping by, man. And Home Runner, thank you for dropping by too. Just reading you guys' comments real quick so I can kind of paraphrase and answer and, kind of say what I want to say. Hey, thanks, Mark. Thanks, Mark. Yeah. Like a blackout or when the lights go out, it's probably the most likely common type of situation that can arise, and it can be caused from many different sources. Like I said, it could be caused from, electromagnetic pulse, C.M.A, coronal mass ejection, to a freak thunderstorm, lightning, a blizzard or ice storm. I mean, ice storms are well known for causing blackouts because power lines start to sag, and with that connection, certain areas won't have power, and depending on how extent of the damage, recovery time might be from hours to days, and if it's serious, it might be weeks. Hopefully it's not that long. Hopefully it's just days at the most. Everyone's always hoping that things will come back. Oh, okay, Home Runner. I talked about the best candles, in my opinion, anyways. I mean, everyone has their own opinion, but for me personally, I generally prefer tea light candles or these pillar round, they're 2-inch wide, kind of 30, 50, 80, 100 hour candles. I tend to go or shy away from these narrow, thinner type of candles for these kids. It's because, like I said, these because it's so narrow and so tall, it's easier to get knocked over, and because you're using an open flame inside, there's always going to be that chance of fire. And the last thing anyone wants is to be in a blackout and a fire comes out of nowhere, because you're just multiplying the problems. Best shake flashlight. I used to have one, but I think as far as I know, they're not as bright as um as a crank, like with gears, or a squeeze light. Like in terms of those kind of things, I think these ones that they're dynamo. Well, they're all dynamo, but the ones that crank like this, I find are a little bit brighter because those squeeze lights or those shake lights, if you if you're squeezing or shaking, yeah, you're adding power in, right? But I find when you use like those ones that have that you spin, like I should have brought one out, but it's in my bag right now. But I find with those you can kind of keep cranking them and make them brighter, because you're still cranking them in their on position. But that's for what I've seen. Cause I've used the last time I used a crank headlamp, I mean crank light. I think I was out with a couple of friends out, you know, out in the countryside. We were walking. There was four of us. You know, I I had a headlamp, but I could just conserved it because I didn't know how long we were gonna be out there for, and I was just hand cranking with a dynamo light, and that's where I found out that if you keep spinning it, it actually produces its maximum amount of brightness. But as soon as you stop cranking, it's not start using the power from the battery. And generally speaking, except for those shake lights, these solar lights, these dynamo type of lights that you spin, or the squeeze lights, all will take a battery. So if anyone tells you that they don't take a battery, that's not true. All those take a rechargeable battery. So if that rechargeable battery fails, it's pretty much done, unless you can replace it. And as far as I know, a lot of them take like a CR2032 or a CR2016 type of battery, but a rechargeable version of it. Yeah, you're quite welcome, home runner. No problem, no problem. And thanks for the questions, guys. Really appreciate it. I'll come back to what you just said about the hobo candles in a sec, Bruce. Let's see, Mark says, yeah, yeah, natural disasters are also well known for power grid disruption. The hurricanes took out everything from what I can understand. Power planning is some of the best in terms of realistic survival. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's one of the first few areas that I started in. When I started this, it just, you know, for me, it was just a natural way. And I mean, I've already gone through these kind of power outages. Luckily, it wasn't long, but I kind of be like, yeah, let's not have to, you know, try to find something. I'll plan it ahead in advance so it's in one common area and all together, lights out, blackout type of kit. In a common area, like I said, like kitchen, uh, dining room or living room, somewhere where everyone knows where it is, easy access. Maybe says lights out kit or blackout kit, has reflectors on it, because you're not sure. Because when you're trying, when you're looking for it, you might only have that EDC flashlight with you, or you're trying to search for this kit with a lighter. So any kind of reflection or something like that stands out, like bright yellow, for example, it's on catch your eye, and you'd be like, okay, that's where my lights out kit or blackout kit is. Okay, open it up, light up a couple of tea light candles, and kind of go from there. Well, Bruce, let's just say I've kind of used to talk about real quick to the home writer that he generally prefers squeeze lights over shake or wine or crank style because they're one-handed operating. You know what? I've There is a way with cordage again to change or to kind of modify like those wind up or crank dynamo type of lights so you can actually you know use them with one hand. That's with cordage, and I've shown something similar on how to get hands free for when your light source isn't hands free. I mean, It's great to have a headlamp, but not everyone has a headlamp. Especially when stuff like flashlights and torches are a little bit more common. Most people have that, not everyone has a headlamp. Well, oh, but yeah, thanks, Bruce. Yeah, that kind of stuff, I've had that stuff all the time. I acquired reflective tape. This could be kind of, I should, actually, I am gonna go get one of the kits I have. Not a lights out or blackout kit, but a different kind of kit. Now, right here, I have in this plain old case, just basically stuff that's reflective, trail marking tape, reflective type of tape, and stuff like that. So something like this, and I'll open it up a little. You know, you can put this kind of stuff on your kit and stuff like that. And as a side note, this kind of stuff, let's say the power or this power outage is even longer than you anticipated. You know, you're going on the second, third day. Stuff like this. Let's see. Trail marking tape. Like, most people know what's in their place. They know hallways, right, and stuff like that. But let's say you're only using minimal amount of light, or something like that. You can put stuff like this or this, like on corners or against the wall or along the ground, so you can kind of be like, okay, I know where I am. You know, kind of not getting lost in your own home. And as another side note, and I've shown this off before, with the solar lights, you can, let's see here. I showed it in that video, but everyone knows what magnets are. Now this is a neodymium magnet. This magnet came from a hard drive, and for the most part, this is where I acquired these neodymium type of magnets. Is usually from a hard drive, just because, well, I got access to them, and usually they're spent, not working, the planner's not working or whatever, so, you know, I grab magnets out, because they're very strong for what they are. But these, depending on your place, your home, sometimes where certain corners meet in certain places, like there'll be the drywall, but along the corner there'll be a corner of metal, like it's steel. So in theory, use this lighter for example, that corner could have steel, like to reinforce it, kind of that corner, so you can stick a magnet onto that and hang your light source, flashlight. I do this with solar lights from time to time, and hang it on a corner, so it's hanging using magnetism. So something I keep in mind. Now I don't keep these in my blackout or lights off kit, but I know where these are. They're everywhere because I use them a lot. I do think I have one hanging right now, at least a magnet. It's just sitting on the corner in this hallway beside me, so I can put it as high as I want or as low as I want. Because, like I said, in terms of lighting, generally people have lights up high and stuff like that, so the higher you can put a light and try to aim that light source down, the more of the ground you can see, which is another con for a candle. Because a candle, because if this was a candle, all the light would be hitting up, and not a lot would be aiming down. Where a simple flashlight, you could just turn it one way and aim that light source straight down, so it's aiming where you need to see, which is probably gonna be the ground. Anyways, just not read what you guys are saying right here real quick. Yep, yep. Mark was talking about acquiring solar panels. Yep, they can work. And, you know, for a general type of blackout that's usually, caused by someone hitting a transformer or from power going out due to a storm, thunder showers, or ice storm. Yeah, solar is definitely gonna be useful. And of course they can power, and depending on the extent of the solar or the battery bank or and stuff like that, you might be able to power up or recharge a phone, for example. Because sometimes, even though the grid's it's blackout or the lights are out in your area, you might still have mobile coverage from your smartphone, but that's not always guaranteed though. They check up on news and stuff like that, and that comes back to having like an emergency radio with it too, something you can pick up broadband and stuff like that. I mean, not broadband, shortwave, so you can hear news reports and stuff like that. Because clearly you're not, unless you got a UPS, an uninterrupted power supply, and it's powering both, a computer and your modem and slash router. You're probably not gonna get info from a TV or over there or from internet. Now I do, and of course if you have landlines at home, a cordless phone's probably not gonna work unless without some sort of UPS. If you have a corded phone, those can still work at those times, so you can still kind of call out using a landline with a corded phone. But lots of people don't have corded phones. I think I keep one in around here just as a backup, just in case. I mean, for the most part, and like everyone else, use a cordless phone just because it's more convenient, more mobile. Alright, Kay, thanks for dropping by. I always appreciate people dropping by my live streams and checking out my content. So, peace out to Kay. Oh. Oh. With Alex, the magnets are just so I can adhere to different surfaces around a place. So, for example, I can hang with a strong magnet, I can hang a flashlight over the fridge, for example, over the stove. Those vents that over a stove and stuff like that. I can hang a light off of that. Oh yeah, you guys are kind of talking about power banks for a little bit. Now everyone knows about these power banks that fit in your pocket, but are things that can work, such as your laptop. A laptop is pretty much, a very expensive, very big usually, and heavier, but It can be used as a power supply or like a battery bank. Because, generally speaking, those laptops will have USB on them, so you can have, at least USB power. And USB power is about 5 volts. 5 volts of power, give or take. So 5 volts of power can, recharge a cell phone, maybe recharge battery, especially if you have a USB type of charger. It could be used as a way to actually run lights, like directly, like so you plug in a USB light in, well, and you turn that laptop from something you might not be using to something that can, give you light for a little bit of time. Now, if you're gonna use a laptop for as a battery bank, now most likely you're not gonna be doing work or checking out something online per se during a situation like that. So you're probably gonna be conserving battery. So another way to conserve battery on a laptop, especially if you're using it to power up devices or recharge devices, so you can get the maximum amount of recharge cycles or duration of the light that you've plugged into the USB, is to try not to boot into the operating system. I know it's a little kind of more technical, but because every time you run into the operating system on a laptop, you're going to be using more power. So, but I'll leave that as a different video, and I'll kind of show that off. I know sometimes these laptops or desktops, you can still power a device or recharge a device even in standby. But if you can't do that, do it. If you can't, boot into safe mode, not safe mode, but boot into keep it on screen, lack of a better word, the DOS mode or the pre-operating system menus and stuff like that. Because as soon as you boot into your operating system, for example, if you're running Windows or Linux, it's not use up power to kick your applications and your startup thing. So you can save power just by not running, getting to that menu or getting to your startup screen where it boots up. Transformers, as far as I know, they get overpowered. I mean, short of someone hitting it, I mean, that's always that can happen, I guess. Especially during the winter, you lose control, you hit a transformer, knocks out power to 10 square kilometers for the next 5 hours, just because, well, that transformer is more important than you think for that area. I mean, depending on how localized the blackout or the power outage is, right? You might be able to go let's say an hour drive and get to a place that has power. I mean, that's an option. Yes, Alex, I'll get into that too. And just like how I said to Bruce that I will get into this kind of with tins, candles, hobo rocket stoves, I'll kind of get into that just a bit here. Just trying to catch up to the live chat here, or side chat here. Oh, you're quite welcome, Mark. I mean, it's just something for me, I just kind of picked up. I mean, like, especially nowadays. I mean, maybe, 10, 12, let's see, it's 2018, let's say 10, 12 years ago, you know, not everyone had them. But nowadays, how everyone's got something like that. If it's not a smartphone, it's a laptop. If it's not a laptop, it's gonna be a tablet. So yes, I find that stuff helps. And for the most part, if your laptop is 100%, usually that's enough power to run over USB power for quite a bit of time. Especially if you like try not to boot into the operating system, dim display, pretty much not do any work on it, and pretty much just use it as a battery bank or something like that. Home runner, I do not have a generator yet. I could see generators being used maybe a day later after the first 24 hours. Because probably by that time, depending on the season, if it's winter, you can adapt something. But if it's summer, your food's going, like, the food in the fridge is going to start getting warm. The food in the freezer will start falling out a little. I mean, you probably still have a good another 36, 24, 36 hours for that, especially if you don't open your fridge or, open up the freezer a lot. So, in terms of if you have to eat, probably eat the fridge that's eat the stuff that's in the fridge first, because that's most likely to go bad first. And reserve canned, frozen, and ready to eat stuff for, maybe a little bit later. And try to use up things that expire. Well, not expire, but can go bad first. Because I know when I go out camping, a cooler can keep something cold for quite a bit of time. But usually it's because you're not opening it a lot. Or if you do, you grab what you need, close it right away. And usually that's in a shade, covered, and stuff like that. Like you can, depending on if you feel the need for it, and depending on how long the power outage has been going for, your fridge is probably not gonna have power unless you got some UPS or generator trying to power it up, or solar. If you got the money to acquire that much solar power. So, like, I've heard of people covering their fridges and stuff like that. I've never had to resort to doing that yet, but maybe after the first, let's say 12 hours, 12, 24 hours a day of being in the dark or without lights or power, yeah, I'm probably not gonna consider that. And try to keep that cold in as much as I can. Like another thing in terms of like a fridge is that I keep water inside my fridge, just so even if the power did go out, since the fridge is full, there's a lot more cold in there in terms of like milk, liquids like water, maybe it's orange juice or whatever. That liquid will stay cold longer than just the air itself, if that makes sense. Yeah, as far as I know, brews it's like what, twice the twice as much uh voltage, I believe. Yeah, you need twice as much power in the beginning to start it up. So something that's like 1,000 watts probably needs at least 2,000 watts, as far as I've heard. Like, I don't have a generator, and I've never had to run the fridge with external power supply, so I'm not familiar with it. But from things I've read, seen, and stuff like that. Oh yeah, yeah, Bruce. Yeah, that's good. Keeping ice. That's good. Like, for me, it's winter. Honestly, it's winter here in the northern hemisphere, throughout in North America, Europe, and stuff like that. So if you have access to snow, you know, maybe not per se bring the snow in. You might leave certain things outside, or if you do decide to bring it in, you put it into the fridge or the freezer right away. So just because in situations like that, if you bring the snow in to hold, keep your food cold, you gotta do it quick because as soon as the snow comes in, it's gonna draw heat from the inside to start melting it. So when you do it, or if you decide to do it, you gotta do it quick. You know, maybe grab a cooler, dump a bunch of snow inside, cover it, bring it inside, and ditch that snow into the fridge or freezer ASAP. And close the fridge right away, and maybe cover the fridge to prevent any of that kind of heat that you're generating inside from like candles. Maybe maybe it's colder inside than you think, right? Than you're used to. You don't want to be melting that snow before and melting the snow and getting it watery and not doing the work that you want it to do, which is to keep your food cold. I think that makes sense. So I just since I have a moment here, I'll come back to what Bruce and Alex kind of said about tins, and kind of like hobo stoves. Like, yeah, you can use a tin. Well, not specifically this, but you can do it with cans too. Like, make a slit down the middle, open it up like a butterfly, stick a tea light inside, so you can have some sort of lantern, for example. Uh, Hobo stoves or rocket stoves can be used for cooking purposes, because generally you're not gonna have access to your microwave stove. You may have access to natural gas or propane, but if you don't, you might have to heat water, boil water, melt water, especially if you don't have it already, or your supply of fresh water is going down, and you need to boil or melt water, snow for water to just cooking. All right, eventually you gotta eat. You've already had that all the produce in your fridge. You've eaten all the fresh stuff already, and all you're left with frozen stuff, dry stuff, canned stuff, and maybe ready to eat stuff. And maybe, like I said, maybe you've gone already ate that ready to go stuff, ready to eat stuff, or that fresh kind of produce type of stuff that doesn't need cooking per se to eat. So you gotta start heating up a can, cooking dry stuff, or cooking and falling out some frozen stuff. So you're not gonna need to heat it up. So it's something like a rocket stove, uh, a hobo stove, um, those kind of camping type of stoves that you can get that use like propane and stuff like that can be used to cook your food or boil or heat up your water. Now, those kind of things you gotta remember, because they're burning something. You need to make sure you do it in a ventilated area. If you have let's say a garage, do it in the garage. If you have to do that or do it out on a balcony, for example. So, especially if you got something like a barbecue, probably not gonna bring that inside, but, you know, cook on that, cook outside. It's because you're burning something and creating a flame. There's gonna be other stuff to worry about, like carbon monoxide and stuff like that. So, if you do use it and you're gonna use it inside, try to, maybe, for example, you have a window. I'd say, yeah, this is the window. And, you're in the kitchen. Try to block out that area with, like, garbage bags, maybe painters, drop sheet, anything that can block the wind, and kind of make, like, a cooking area right there in the corner. Maybe it's near the kitchen, near the sink, but the window's slightly open. That way, when you're cooking something, you have ventilation still. Because the thing is, if it's grid down, blackout, lights go out, it could be during the winter, and it's cold outside, and you don't. So you've closed all the windows. You've sealed all the cracks just to keep the heat in. So the last thing you want is to kind of fall asleep and kind of pass out because of carbon monoxide poisoning. I mean, it happens. It's that silent killer. You just kind of get drowsy and fall asleep, and you're not getting back up. I mean, I've seen around my local area on the news and stuff like that of people perishing because of carbon monoxide poisoning. So it's a very serious threat, and if you have like smoke, I should come back to that, but if you have smoke detectors or carbon monoxide detectors, especially if they don't run on grid power, they run on 9-volt battery or whatever, have them nearby. So you can have an indicator, like, for example, if you're cooking in the kitchen, everyone, 4 family members, including yourself, are all in the living room, right? Have the smoke detector by you guys, so just in case something happens, you have an indicator that, oh, right, my tea light candle's burning uncontrollably. Or if you're cooking, you have that carbon monoxide detector, so if levels get too high, you get a warning. So you'd be like, oh, I should ventilate this area more. Getting too much smoke or carbon monoxide inside. Oh yeah, alcohol stoves too. I mean, hand sanitizer can work. It's not as the alcohol content's not as high as some other stuff that's like 70-90%. But in a jam, it could work. As far as I know, it's like 30 mils of hand sanitizer can go for like up to 15 minutes. But as far as I know, because I've tried it, and I tried it in my area, and I live up north, a little bit more than some of you guys that live down south in the US and stuff like that. That's not enough to boil 1 cup of water for me. So 30 mils of 15 minutes of burn with hand sanitizer is not enough to boil 1 cup of water. It gets hot enough to make like tea with, but it's not close enough to boil. Not without adding more fuel in or more heat in. Alex, it depends on how cold. Like, remember, it's gonna be dark. regardless, right? But cold might, well, it's not gonna be instantaneous that it's gonna be like let's say it's 32 degrees Fahrenheit out or 0 degrees Celsius out. Your place is not gonna drop in temperature that fast. Now, if the temperature outside is like minus 30 Celsius or minus 22 degrees Fahrenheit, because the difference between hot and cold is greater, your place is going to cool down a lot faster than in comparison if it was at 32 Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius out, night or day. So, I mean, if you had to, I probably wouldn't quite do it like an oil drum in the middle of the living room. I probably, if try with candles and stuff like that first. And coming back to that, when you're um, remembering that smaller areas in terms of shelter are heat up faster or easier. So let's say if it's cold out during this kind of blackout, lights out, temperatures falling inside, you know, you only have tea lights or whatever, or candles as heat. You don't have any access to a space heater or you're in an apartment, so you can't kind of light up something bigger. Try to keep the space small as possible, because small areas heat up faster than bigger areas, and smaller areas are a little bit easier to light up, especially if you use, a mylar type of reflective space blanket to help bounce some heat and light around. Because I'll come back to this again. The drum, the drum, yes, like it's gonna be big. Like pretending this is a drum, it's gonna be big in the living room. Yes, you're gonna get lots of heat from it, and if it's minus 30 inside your place, you know you gotta do what you gotta do. But let's say it's warmer or whatever, probably not as needed. But another thing is, you're gonna from such a big fire, for example, if you actually did that. Now, I'm not suggesting anyone make a big fire in their place because the dangers of the fire itself is not, quite serious. But you can, instead of having one big fire, you can have maybe like that's the size of a, let's say, 50-gallon barrel, for example. You can probably tone it down to, more smaller ones. Because, yes, I do know that a big drum is probably not going to give a lot of heat, but you're not run through that fuel you're using inside even faster. Because generally, bigger, bigger, the more heat that's liberated in a fire, the quicker you're going to go through that fuel. It applies here on Earth and applies out in space with like stars and stuff like that. If you go through the fuel faster, yeah, it's gonna be hotter, but it's not gonna last as long, and you're gonna have to resupply that fuel for it eventually, and eventually fuel does run out. So yes, Alex, I probably would go with depending, let's see, if you had 4 people, make make something in the living room, like even if it's gotta be like a tent you set up in the living room, that that's ready to go kind of shelter, well, inside that you can set up easily, and it's not that hard to do, and lots of people can have access to like a tent, or maybe you're making kind of like a couch type of fort or something like that. I mean, if you're gonna do that, well, you're gonna do that. And you want to keep that heated and try to keep the light inside. Because depending on the situation, again, especially if it's gone for more than 12 hours, maybe it's day 2, day 3 of this blackout. You might want to consider blacking out your windows. After first 72 hours, I mean, like, if things still haven't come back to normal, people may get desperate, and they see, oh, hey, I see light over there. They must have stuff that I can use. Tea light candles or batteries or whatever, right? So, blacking out the windows kind of makes you less of a target. Because, if you see light, if you're desperate, if you see light, you might try to do something just because there's something there. Hey, it's Peeping Egg. I'm excited because Peeping Egg's in. She always cracks me up, and I just had to say that, and I think I'll stop with the egg jokes for now. Hi, Peeping Egg. So yeah, as a quick recap, I've just been talking about blackout kits, lights out type of kits, things you can do, things to keep in mind, even items that you might have around that are gonna be useful in situations like that. Of course, no one knows how long these blackouts go for, so use your own best judgment, right? I mean, if your place is starting to get cold because it's -20 out, maybe consider lighting up more candles. Maybe fire up a rocket stove or some sort of heater. Now remember, these, like any flame sources, you probably should have kind of ventilate the area every so often. Maybe crack a window, like, and stuff like that. Maybe it's one room, the door's cracked open slightly, right? Like, let's say it's you have everyone's in the living room, your wife, your 2 kids, maybe it's 2 daughters, right? Everyone's in the living room, right? Trying to stay together, safety numbers and stuff like that. One light might light up the whole area enough for everyone to do something like read, write, draw, braid, in my case, and kind of make what's it called? A space that you can draw air from. So let's say it's your daughter's room. You can crank the window just open just a little, but on the door, you crack it just a little so air can flow. So you're not getting kind of stale air inside or a lack of oxygen inside, but the cold will kind of stay in that room a little bit longer. So the rest of the room, or the living room that you're staying in, won't get cold just because that window's open. If that makes sense. Well, I've asked people to kind of leave me, your thoughts about it, what you've experienced, what works for you, what kind of stuff do you keep like on hand for a situation like that, from uh, chemical type of lighting, such as fire, or some things that illuminate, like glow sticks, chem lights like that, and electric type of lighting, usually with batteries, which also includes like solar, hand crank, uh, dynamo, wind up type of lights or torches. Oh wow. Oh wow. Keeping it. I remember one time we had troubles with the thermostat here, and let's just say that's the cool. I've never had a. It wasn't a power outage. It's actually a technical thing, but let's just say it got really cold inside pretty quick for the amount of time. I think it was a couple hours, maybe. No, but the outside temperature wasn't that cold out, but the inside temperature did fall below below 50 Fahrenheit or plus 10. And once around that plus 9, plus 10 range in Celsius, or about like 47, 50 Fahrenheit, you can start seeing your breath. And if you start seeing your breath inside, you know it's starting to get cold. And you probably should take steps to kind of stay warm while this blackout's going on. Because usually what happens is like a blackout starts to introduce other things. Like, not, you've already gotten the lights out kid. You have lights and you can see stuff. But then there's things to deal with, like shelter, because your current shelter is not good enough. So you gotta enhance and make your shelter even better. You need to heat the area, and of course, water and food. Eventually, you're gonna do it, use it. Oh, hey, it's the art of prepping. I kind of mentioned you earlier. I saw your message real quick. I didn't read it all, but I kind of thought you weren't coming in. But okay, that's cool. That's cool. So, welcome to the art of prepping. Welcome into my live stream, where I'm just talking about kind of blackout, lights out type of kids. You and I saw your video that you did, well, last week. I, at this time last week, so I figured, I'll kind of talk about it, talk about things. I'm no expert in it. I've gone through, minor power outages that last couple hours to, I think the longest one was like 6 or 7 hours. Never had one during the winter. I've had ones during the summer, of course. And I've had power outages from in the day, at night, after midnight, 3 o'clock in the morning, and stuff like that. So I'm just talking from experience. Let's see, where was I? Oh yes, shelter. So yeah, after you take care of maybe the heat and lighting for for the area you're in, you probably want to consider shelter, especially if it's cold out. Like if it's summertime, you probably don't have to deal with heat in terms of like humidity. But during the winter, you probably don't have to eventually deal with the cold. Somehow, some places heat can keep the heat in for longer, but some places, once the furnace goes down, it's not gonna be cold and like, where you're seeing your breath and shivering within like, you know, next 2 hours, for example. So shelter is a big thing after that. And it's keeping kind of everyone in one spot, like a living room, keeps all that heat together. Especially if you make the space smaller, like using a tent. Maybe you're using I don't know, tarp, garbage bags, contractor bags, drop sheet, stuff like that to kind of make a microclimate. The smaller areas will warm up and keep warm for a little bit longer. Like, so you're using, maybe you, instead of using like 5 candles to heat up the area, you're only using like one, for example. And of course, staying together, there's safety in numbers. Because also, like, during things like that, certain things don't work. You know, your home security, might not work during that power outage, so, safety could be important. especially depending on the neighborhood and depending on how long this kind of power outage has been going for. Oh wow, 2 weeks? I don't think. Wow, that's a long time to go without power. But I mean, it depends where you live. Some places have experienced it more often or for a longer duration. Some people, they've only experienced like 10 minutes, which is, a drop in the bucket. Not even worth like the time it took to like bring out everything. Interesting. Yeah, coming back to that heaters, if you gotta use heaters, you gotta ventilate the area that you're in. I mean, even if it's opening one window in a different room and cracking the door open so kind of air can circulate, but you're kind of delaying or trapping that cold air from invading the rest of the house to their rooms or to the room that you're staying in currently, like kitchen, maybe a living room. I mean, a living room is probably gonna be ideal place. It's big enough. There's a lot of things there, and most people already in the living room already have like couches and stuff like that. So you can lay that on the ground, for example, like the cushions, and use it as a kind of insulation to the ground. And most people, have blankets and stuff already, so you can curl up in there, maybe stay together with your friends or uh, roommates or family, and try to keep all that heat contained. Hey, it's Amber and John Homestead and Random. Hello, Amber. Thank you for dropping by. Always appreciate you guys dropping by. Means a lot. Thumbs up for that. No, I have not heard about that, Amber. Can you kind of elaborate on that in like right now? Oh yeah, yeah. Uh, Coming back to what I was saying about the shelter, the art department said, he's had to use a tent before. I mean, a tent's just a ready to use kind of shelter. I mean, of course, not everyone has a tent and stuff like that, or maybe it's not big enough. Maybe you have a single tent, but you got family members, so they can't all fit inside. So you might have to adapt or improvise or additionally use stuff like contractor type of garbage bags, drop sheet, stuff like that. Mylar reflective space blankets that reflect the heat and kind of reflect the light around so you can kind of see a little bit more, see the ground better, retain more of that heat because it's -20 out and your place is starting to cool down and stuff like that. Oh yeah, oh yeah, the flooding. I think it's about the mudslides in California, right? I think I heard about that on the news. I think that's kind of what Amber's talking about, unless I'm mistaken. Oh, so there was a big magnitude 8 uh, off the coast of Alaska. Okay, I see, I see. So yeah, if you can kind of plan. make some preparations and prepare for a blackout, a kind of kit, or with a blackout kit or a lights out kit. This kind of kit can be used anytime the lights or the grid goes down, regardless of what causes it. I mean, this could be just from Amber talk about an earthquake. I mean, like during times like those, grid's down because power lines are down. Like your place that you're staying in, might be safe. You know, it's kind of reinforced, made with more modern materials, um, using concepts that are more useful in an earthquake type of situation, so it's more stable. The roof's not that cave in or anything like that. So, an earthquake can cause a blackout. Oh, well, actually, a lot of things can cause a blackout. Floods, hurricanes, tornadoes. But usually, that kind of stuff also has, structural damage too. To homes, buildings, cars, and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, most from what the art prepping said, I mean, like, you're probably gonna have to sleep on the floor. Now, depending on the situation, depending on what furniture you have, you can use some of that furniture to kind of make like well, like as a kid you might have made like a couch fort, using the cushions to make a fort, for example. Well, you can kind of apply that to a situation like this if you ran through it. So, maybe you're using, let's say, you got you and your wife and your two kids, for example. I'll use that because I know one person here has that situation. But let's say your wife, two daughters, right? You can use like the mattresses as kind of like additional walls, extra insulation, something more comfortable to rest on. Try to get off the ground. I mean, the ground's probably gonna get colder than just a foot or 2 feet above it. The ground's probably gonna get cold fast, quicker. Because heat rises and usually cold air sinks down. So get off the ground. It applies in the woods and probably would apply here too. So you don't have that conduction loss so much. Just to add with the sleeping bags and the wool blankets, uh, to the art prepping, another thing you can do is if you have access to a way to heat it, well, like stuff like hot hands, hand warmers, hot water bottle heaters, they can all kind of give you some heat without the negative or the cons of using fire, such as carbon monoxide, fire hazard, and stuff like that. I mean, those hot water bottle heaters, I mean, I had to do that before once over at my friend's place. They had power, but for some reason their furnace wasn't working. So I had to use a 2 liter bottle. But we had access to a stove, so I boiled up some water, but this could be like a rocket stove. Maybe some propane heater, or propane type of stove, barbecue. You're boiling up that water, you bring it inside, store that heat from the flames in the water, and keep you warm for, more hours, more time. To kind of delay the onset of the heat loss. Because, the heat loss is going to be ongoing until the furnace comes back, or until the sun comes back out, or until maybe 2 days later it's plus 10 out or 50 Fahrenheit out again, in comparison to what it was earlier, minus 20, 0 degrees Fahrenheit out. So yeah, I mean, I had to do that before. I had a friend's place with a 2 liter bottle. I mean, it it helped. I mean, kept my feet nice and warm. I had blankets on. Like you could see the breath inside. I mean, it was cold and it was minus 20 out, and that's in Celsius. So yeah, it was cold. You're expecting to be warm inside, and yet you're not. Just give me a sec, guys. Just reading up on your guys' chat right here. Jeez. I am not getting into the chemtrails. I'm not getting into that. Not on this live stream, anyways. This is great that you guys are kind of getting ideas, considering things, maybe making improvements, mentally going through it, mentally, maybe for the next time. I mean, it's still winter here in North America, so still plenty of time to get cold. Yeah, I probably should have turned on the slow-mo for this. Whatever. I'll just kind of read and just kind of keep going. Oh, that's awesome. Peeping eggs. Of course, no one likes power outages because the Wi-Fi goes out. No! Yeah, you gotta be careful with candles in the tent, though. Like I said, well, in the beginning of the live stream when I was talking about it with candles, because the fire hazard is always gonna be there. As long as it's burning, it's always gonna be there. So, have water nearby. Have it contained slightly off the ground, this candle. Uh, like I said, have water nearby. I mean, I've shown off a video. I have another video where I've shown to store like a tea light candle in like a metal container. Well, a wider one. This could be a bowl, a wider one, for example. Stick that in. Well, put some water in and stick your tea light candle inside. So even if it gets tipped over, the water might be able to put out the flame. And as everyone knows, water does not support combustion. And usually it tends to, cool down the heat of the fire, let's just say. Yeah, a wood stove, that are perfect, yeah, if you can get one. But the thing is, a lot of the times, unless you buy a place with one in there, it's gonna be expensive to put a new one in. I mean, if you got the money, yeah. But not everyone has that option. Because you also need a chimney and stuff like that. You gotta tear down walls, open up the ceiling, open up the roof. I mean, useful, yes, but it's gonna cost you some time and a pretty penny for it. But even if you can't get a wood stove inside, let's say you got a garage, you can put that in the garage. Just have everyone stay out in the garage. That's awesome, people. And then you kind of know what I mean about the hot water heaters. I mean, I find if I use them, I know it's serious enough to use them. That the situation justifies me doing it right now. But when I do use them, I'm always glad after. I'd be like, oh, it's so warm. You know, I'm not shivering anymore, or I'm not. Oh, it's cold. I'd be like, warm on my feet, hands, and stuff like that, and try to keep my core body temperature warm. The art of prepping. What do you burn down there? I'm not a big tree expert. I mean, what do you use? Pine, spruce, cedar. What else is there? Poplar. Yeah. I mean, I'm just curious. I've seen another video about one of my subscribers talking about wood and for burning purposes, and how some are better than others. Some get you a coal faster or coal stay longer. Some spit, some don't. Some take longer to get going. Some where once if it's dry, it's gonna go like magic. So I'm just curious. Yes, everyone wants me to move down south. So if you want to donate some like a place to stay and a flight ticket, you know, I'm game for that. I'm just kidding. Don't have to do that. Well, yeah, the art perfect. I mean, the candles in the tent. I mean, it's not just kids. It could be pets too. Cats. I mean, cats. You know how it is. And what anyone that's seen pets, I mean, you seen them knock over something accidentally or run into something, or it could be like something as simple as like you know they go up the drip and the drip falls and it hits the candle or whatever, and be like, yeah, try to make things better, not worse. Welcome back, Amber. Lauren Perman kind of brought up something here about that. He said, I've heard of soldiers using MREs. MRE means meals ready to eat, by the way. These heaters that they use to keep warm. I mean, like, I can totally see that. It's probably no different in terms of, in comparison to, like, hand warmers. The reaction might be slightly of a different nature, but the result is still the same. Heat. Or exothermic type of reaction, which means releasing heat to the outside. I mean, with those kind of hand warmers, body warmers, and stuff like that, mostly it's, pretty much the reaction is iron resting. So when it comes in contact with oxygen, it kind of not liberates, but it's a reaction that releases heat as part of the reaction, exothermic. Now, because of that, because it relies on oxygen, if you put it into a container, let's say, well, I won't use this as an example because it's a little small, and it doesn't have to be as sealed, but those containers from the dollar store that have the latches, because I've tried it before on one of those, because these hot hands use oxygen to kind of, as a reaction to, release the heat. If you remove the oxygen, the reaction stops. Now, you won't get any more time out of it. If it's 12 hours, it's going to be up to 12 hours. But let's say, for example, you're using this in combination with like hot water heaters. You're using one that's up to 20 hours. You might not need all that heat all for the next 20 hours. So you might space it out more. Say for like 2 days for 10 hours. If you seal it so it's away from oxygen, that reaction will stop until you introduce more oxygen, air back into the system again. So coming back to those from Dollar Tree, I think I can get them here in Canada too, and other places, but those ones that have clasps on the clasp on them or whatever, that what's the word I'm looking for? Well, you guys know what I mean. So those things, I have one right here, but it's actually I kind of will. One second. This right here, I've actually used this to seal a hand warmer in and used it 7 days later. So something like this is quite useful, and I kind of explained it before in the winter or cold live stream that I did. I talked about cold and winter. So, something I just found out. I've seen videos on it. I tried it for myself like last year at this time, and it worked. So I'm pretty sure we don't get oak up here in Canada, or at least not in this area. Usually it's still poplar, spruce, pine, but it's what we have here. I can, about those heaters, about the MRE heaters, because usually they use it in conjunction with the water to boil the water or steam up the water. So, I mean, I've never had an MRE heater, but I could probably see me using it in conjunction with like a water to make a water heater. The art department, can you leave me a comment on this? Can those heaters, can they be submerged in water? Those MRE heaters, can they be submerged in water? So, for example, can I take one, submerge it into a bottle that can, fit it, and, heat up the water with it and use it as a heater? So I don't burn myself, but it's still hot enough. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Oh, what's that? Uh, I bet you I know the art department knows what we'll be talking about. What's it called? What's it called? Calcium carbide, isn't it? Isn't what's it called? They used to use it for lanterns in caves before the introduction of electronic lighting, such as bulbs, including LED. But I'm pretty sure it's called calcium carbide. No, calcium carbide, or I'm trying to remember it. It's a reaction with water. It kind of reminds me of it. It might be similar or the same thing. So maybe you know. In terms of sleeping bags, I know I've recently acquired a 30 Fahrenheit 0 Celsius bag before. So, but the more remembering that, isn't it usually the more expensive it is, the lower the temperature it can go down. But you know, you can still get a relatively cheap bag, but add insulation in, add more layers in, which might include a wool blanket, uh, reflective mylar space blanket, and stuff like that. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I figured you might know. I just remember it because it reacts with water and it produces light. They used to use it in caves and stuff like that. I know it's a chemical reaction, I just cannot remember it now without searching for it. And I'm not done cheat just to look it up. I wouldn't mind getting something like that because that reacts with water to create light or something like that. So I wouldn't mind something like that. Sheesh, all this coffee. For the next minute or two here while you guys are watching here, I am asleep because I'm live streaming. Obviously, I can't pause, so I gotta take care of something really quick here. So I will be back in just like 90 seconds. I'll be back. I'll leave my static image on until I return. Okay, I'm back. Alright, I went to go, well, use the washroom and get the lights out, blackout kit that I'm currently working on right now. So right here, I know Luminous is not sponsoring me by whatsoever. I figure I use this luminous type of case, which actually contained 6 LED bulbs inside. A friend gave this to me. I figure, I'm like, oh, this will make a great lights out kit. It's clear, so I can see everything inside. I mean, it has the word luminous on it. I mean, I got a big reflector right here. I got a triangle thing on the other side of it. Is Peeping Egg still in here? I'm assuming so. While I kind of talk, you guys can leave comments down in the side chat on what do you use as a container to store your kind of blackout kit or lights out kit. I mean, generally speaking, these are items for kind of plugging in, and you would tend to use it when the lights go out. So I'm just going to show off a few things that I have inside. I'll show off the kit in a different video later on, because I'll probably update this again. Just a few things I keep inside. They're not very expensive. They're quite common. You can get them at the dollar store. Such as, let's see. Currently inside I got, 1, 2, 4, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 tea light candles in here. Now, tea light candles are up to 4 hours, but I usually half that and say 2 hours. So 17 times 2 is 54, so that's about 34 hours of a single one light over that time. And since it's not always dark, that might stretch out to 2 or 3 nights. And of course, like I said about the Mylar, space blanket, emergency reflective blanket, I keep one inside. So I have this, it's ready to go, it's dedicated for this kit. So I can put that on the wall, reflect some light, heat around, especially if I'm trying to make a microclimate. Oh yeah, I almost forgot, thanks. I almost forgot about that. She said that too and I forgot about it. Dang it. A couple other things I keep inside are, a wind-up torch, right? Useful, as long as it's not like some, as long as the electronics are still working. I mean, this will give me light for quite a long period of time without the need to have to recharging it through solar or finding a battery charger. But the only downside is that they don't last that long in terms of duration of the light. I mean, it might kind of look bright right now, but that's going to dim down over time, and you gotta keep hand cranking or squeezing it every so often, half an hour or whatever it is. Of course, I keep lighters. Can't have the tea light candles or the candles with a lighter. Lighter's gonna be better in this case than matches. Because for the same amount of space that the lighter takes up, you're only gonna get like, a handful of matches. So instead of 10 matches, I have one lighter that can light up, maybe 100 candles. Now another thing I keep in this one is a battery type of bank from the dollar store. They uses 2 AA's to generate that 5 volts of power. So I keep this in here. So I can run like lights, maybe a heater, a small one. But pretty much it's for the lights and, emergency type of recharging of a smartphone. I mean, I have battery banks that are, 6,000, 10,000 milliamps, but this is just dedicated for this kit. And to go along with that, if I can get it in, I always have a USB light with it, so it's paired with it. It's kind of bright, so I got that light source ready to go. And of course, because I have this as a USB type of light, I can take advantage of stuff that outputs USB power, such as, for example, laptops. A laptop is a good kind of thing that a piece of gear that a common piece of gear that most people have, that you can utilize the USB power to run like a light like this. And this was very easy. I made it did it myself. Like you can get lights like these that can be used. I took one of those and kind of extended it, used a USB cable from a different device, so now it's a little bit longer, so I get some length, so I can hang it up high on the corner of a ceiling, on the corner of the room, for example. Let's see later. And of course I keep a whole bunch of batteries. This is not the only spot that I store batteries. I have batteries stored in different spots, and a main supply of batteries. So if I gotta dip into it, I can. But this is just so, it's there and it's with it already, so I don't have to hunt for it, or at least not yet, and save time. Now another thing I keep is one of these kind of USB DC to USB type of adapters, generally for a car with the cigarette lighter adapter. Basically, this is just so maybe I can input in like 12 or 9 volts of power and get 5 volts out to recharge up a device or power up a light. And if I still have access to a vehicle or whatever, I can use this as a way to, get power to power up a device, recharge a battery, power up myself, a smartphone, for example. So I keep that in here. I also keep another flashlight slash torch in here. Another wind up light. That's a little bit different. Because it actually, and one that I found for free. And let's see. A little bit of cordage ready to go. So if I gotta hang the lights up or whatever, you know, I can. The prepping, these are very kind of generic type lights. Should be fairly easy to acquire. If you're talking about the USB one, that USB one I hacked and kind of modified it so it's longer. Well, like, so the cable's longer. So, like I said, so I can hang it up on, like, the corner of a room, for example. Now, this kind of blackout or lights out kit is not done by any means. I mean, and of course, this doesn't include any water or, you know, food. Is generally, if you're in a blackout or lights out type of situation, you're probably bugging in and staying put, and you know, defending your own home per se. I was wondering where this went out to. Kind of ready to use kind of batteries. These are rechargeable ones. This goes with the flashlight that I have. Because I don't keep the batteries inside. Just, you know, avoid a unnecessary discharge or corrosion of the batteries. Because like I said, I have a lighter inside right away, so, you know, I can use this, light up a tea light candle, then get somewhere. Yeah. I guess it would help if I actually put everything back into the kit before closing it. Yeah, that'd be smart. So I've actually been thinking of adding like a glow-in-the-dark star on the outside, just so, you know, maybe I have my EDC flashlight with me and I'm trying to find it, and, you know, maybe it'll stick out a little bit longer, you know, and stand out a little bit longer for a little bit of time. No, I didn't. I didn't realize you had a post like that. Started prepping. I didn't realize you had that kind of post. Unfortunately, I don't get to watch every last video, and sometimes I do miss some just because, you know, I'm away. Which actually I was the last few days, so I was away. So trying to catch up on everything. So yeah, this, like I said, this nice handle so I can carry it. I mean, like, it's clear so I can see everything inside. I mean, not sure what I'm gonna add or how I'm gonna change it, but, you know, I'll probably figure out a few things that I could do or whatever. Oh yeah, the art of prepping. Yeah, I've been considering that. I mean, like, I got a triangle on the other side that's bright yellow and reflective stuff. But I think more importantly is to every day carry a flashlight and a lighter. Two easy ways to have a light source with you all the time. For the most part, you probably use that flashlight first. But for those times, or for that time that, the flashlight's dead, broken, not charged, or, it's a E.M.P type of event, get that later. So I can still see where I'm going and find this kind of lights out kit. Then, go from there. I might, I've been thinking of adding glow sticks and maybe larger type of heater. One of my hot candles in as a heater. I might add some dedicated type of cordage in, so that reflective mylar space blanket I can kind of hang it up and spring it up and stuff like that. Maybe make a tube tent out of it or something like that. Just things I've been keeping in mind. So yeah, probably after this live stream, I'll probably put some of that reflective tape on. I mean, stuff like that. Maybe I'll add in a kit or something like that. I mean, like I said, I keep air batteries too. I keep air lights too. I use lights all the time, especially when I'm biking. So I have access to those too. This is just kind of like, I'm not at home. Someone else is at home. This, they know, and I got all the lights with me because I'm biking or whatever. This stuff stays at home, so, and they know where it is. So power goes out, they know, go grab this first. There's gonna be lights, candles, a heater once I put it in, tea light candles for lighting, a lighter to light it up, batteries, flashlights, wind-up lights. So, hopefully, until I get back or until the power comes back on. Now, there's a few additional things that I've been thinking of putting in, which includes dedicated USB cables for for Android or iPhones. Because here we got, we use both. We got iPads and then smartphones that are made from that are Android based, so they take a different type of power cable. So I've been thinking of maybe if I get a couple spare ones, add them in so it's dedicated to the kit. We got a bunch of USB cables laying around, but I don't want to be hunting for them if I don't need to. Oh, look at that. It's the Jewish Reddit prepper. Hello, Baba. How are you doing? Thank you for dropping by. Just on a side note, I checked out the last video that your wife did. That was cool. That was cool haul. I don't have solar in the medium scale. I've had in a smaller scale. I don't have, these kind of you know, solar panels that deliver enough power for USB out, 5 volts out. And clearly I don't have those, you know, 20, 35, 50-watt solar panels. Still working on that. Hey, it's Val. Hey, Valerie. How's it going? I'm doing okay. You know, always in creation mode, right? CR's always in creation mode. Unless I'm live streaming, then you just kind of see me talk for a little bit. You know, I'm just talking about blackout kits, lights out kits, depending how you want to word it. Yeah, people seem to either use one or the other. You know, and just kind of talking about things that I put inside, things to keep in mind, and stuff like that. Oh, wow, that's cool. That's cool, the art prepping. That's awesome. That is awesome. One of these days, you know, maybe I'll be able to get like something like a nice gold zero or something like that. But it's not the highest priority for me right now to get a solar panel. You know, sometimes some things like water and food are, you know, to me more important. You know, something like a water filter might be, you know, maybe a little bit more useful than buying a solar panel. Although, I mean, a solar panel would be nice. But, you know, in the meantime, I guess I'll have to use battery banks and, you know, hand crank the power in. Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, see, the Jewish red and purple Baba still wants to get some solar too. The only issue I have with solar, well, there's two reasons. First, I'm worried about hail, and the second thing is I'm worried about ice and snow. You know, those things will, you know, kind of bug me when once I do get solar, especially you know in a bigger scale. I mean those things that are you know you put in your backpack or on your back, you know, I'm not worried so much about that. But I'm talking about large solar panels that are you know that you gotta keep outside. Those are the two things I'm worried about. You know, knowing my luck, I'll install some nice 250-watt solar panels and it hails like 6 months later, and I'll be like, ah, yeah, it would just take me off. So hopefully one of these days I'll get, you know, a nice, decent amount of power and get my hands on some of that stuff. Oh, looks like I had some more people come in. Um, anyone that's new coming in right now, I've been asking people on the side chat, to kind of leave me, you know, it doesn't have to be a long paragraph, but you know, if you've ever been in a blackout, grids down, lights are out, blackout, whatever you want to call it. How long? Did you learn anything from it? And did you wish you had something, or you wish you made preparations of certain thing beforehand? So if you want to answer that, leave it on the side chat right now, and I'll read it. Okay. I'll keep that in mind on the prepping. I'll keep that in mind. Do my own research, of course. Uh, Okay, okay. I never even realized that's what you did, but that kind of makes sense now. So you definitely know about treating water if you do it for a living. You kind of, understand it, understand the methods, procedures, uh, probably understand the chemicals and stuff like that. That's cool, that's cool. Just give me a sec, guys. I'm just checking up on something real quick. Just checking up on some messages, seeing if someone else is gonna drop in for me. Ah, nope. Good on messages. Only got one message. So, yeah, what's it called? So hopefully this light tail kit will, become better. Hopefully it'll become better. Um, I still have room. Yeah, I still got a little bit of room in here. So depending on what I wanna try to get in here, I might update this a little bit more. Of course, this is just, parts of the preparation, the preparedness of it. I keep batteries, solar lights, propane, gas, water, food. Yes, I remember, well, making water filters back when I was in school. It was part of a science experiment. We had to DIY water filters. Now we didn't have to drink it after or anything like that, but basically it was just mud water and we had to filter it. If you got clear water afterwards, you got 100%. If it's very very dirty, 10%. So I've seen lots of different things. I mean, you know, on the very standard, someone just went out and bought a bag of coffee filters and put 17 coffee filters in. Yeah. Although I did it slightly different personally. I think I used like rice as a filter. So I kind of wanted to see if I could do it without buying anything. And now we weren't even allowed to buy anything commercial either. It had to be DIY. Let's just say, if you ever use rice as a filter for wash, kind of let the water run through it a little bit more, because there's dust and stuff like that. That kind of white milky type of um, look to it. You kind of want to avoid that, especially if you want to get clear water. And of course, you probably would boil or maybe add some bleach to it after, just so it's biologically safe. Depending on the source. Oh, that would be cool to see that, Baba. I would like to see a video on a water filter. I mean, for the most part, water you don't need water with food anyways to digest it, cook it, boil it. Hmm, that's good. Just give me one sec here. I'm just checking up on something real quick. Okay. I'm trying to remember to put this my lights out kit out. I mean back. I haven't decided what to call it. I know there's two phrases: blackout kit or lights out kit. Although, you know, I've been almost thinking of calling it the grid down kit. So, you know, grid goes down, well, I'm grabbing this kit. Kind of deal. So. I think I've heard about, and actually that makes sense if you're saying 8 drops of bleach per gallon, Jewish, Baba here. Uh, what have I heard? 1 or 2 to 3 drops per liter. So, and a gallon is about 3.8, 3.78 liters. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. About about 2 or 3 drops per liter, or about 8 drops per gallon. Do you know the how long you have to keep it in there for? Because as far as I know, after you, let's say you put 2 or 3 drops in a liter of water, you leave. I think you're supposed to leave it for like, I can't remember the amount of time, but after it's that time has elapsed, when you open it, you're supposed to have a slight hint of chlorine smell. I mean, that amount is probably not gonna kill you because it's diluted, but it's strong enough to, you know, kill the microorganisms and might make it biologically safe to drink. The art of pumping. Can you, if you want to know that for me, can you privately message me that, please? Thank you. Look who it is. It's just back from Australia. Hello. Thanks for dropping by back. That's awesome. Now if Sammy drops my, I'll leave even more ecstatic. But in the meantime, oh, so a couple things I'm considering putting in here is some sort of what you can call like a tuna can heater, although I just tend to just call it a hot handle. Something that can give me a fire starter, heat, light, and, you know, to a certain degree, boil or cook food. I'm doing good, Beck. Thank you for asking. Besides, when I'm in creation mode, I'm always happy. I might be frustrated, but I'm always happy when I'm in creation mode. So yeah, those are a couple things I've been considering. Putting a hot candle in to this kit. Maybe I might slip one of these in. You know, but I don't use hand warmers that often. But, you know, if I decide to use more hand warmers, you know, I can add this in, so I can not extend the time of the hand warmers, but kind of use it more efficiently or effectively, especially if the duration of the blackout or grid down lights out goes longer. It's like I said earlier, no one knows when it'll come back, right? Could be hours, could be days, and hopefully it comes back. Hopefully it's not that serious. Then it's like, you know, sort of a better word, apocalyptic in nature. Let's see, what else I was gonna say. Oh, yes. I'll probably add maybe some more reflectors on here. And our prepping was kind of same with white and red. Well, I mean, not white and red, but the silver and red reflectors I have. I might do something like that. I mean, but I still think that carrying a lighter and a flashlight with you is probably even more important. I mean, these kids, unless unless the light source is hitting it to reflect the light of these reflectors, foil, tape, or whatever, or absorbing the light to, as like glow in the dark stuff. Without that, I'm probably not gonna be able to find this kid. I mean, yes, I know where I put it, but things could change quickly. So I think having a lighter and a flashlight in my nearby or on your person as an everyday carry, it's probably gonna be more important. Then comes a kit like this. Use this light later to see so I can go find the kid. Yeah, I'm back. I heard about that. Yeah, I heard about that. I think I told her to try like wetting a tissue and then freezing it, then chewing on it. So, because you would get that numbness with the cold, and kind of massage the gums and stuff like that. But let's see here. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. And you bought a hand crank type of for charging. The other prepping. So pretty much, I mean, in a nutshell, it delivers 5 volts of power out. Probably at 1 amp or less. Good for that. For those air times. And hand cranking. I mean, if it's really, because there's gonna be a lot of downtime. I mean, like, if it's like, if you're on the second day of like not having power, I would assume you're gonna eventually get bored. So I mean, like, if your kids were bored, you could be like, hey, go crank this light for the next 5 minutes. Something like that. Keep them occupied. Keep people busy. Their minds off the situation. Or maybe you're actively thinking about it and trying to make plans in advance for it. Be like, you're on the second date and be like, maybe we should do XYZ now. Especially if we go for this power outage for another hour or two. For some reason I cannot find the paracord I have that has the reflective tracer in it. I've shown that video before. For some reason I can't find that band right now. Because I've been thinking about it. I've been putting some sort of cordage with this kit. Just you know, nothing too major, but just so I can make a kind of a microclimate in the, in the living room or in the common area. Because like I said, smaller areas are easier to maintain. They warm up faster. You might be able to get away with just one light source for everyone to use and stuff like that. Oh yeah, yeah. Bubba, I've shown a video on the solar garden lights before. Uh, should be under either the solar or the blackout playlist, one of the two. And I guess I'll be putting this into the blackout playlist too, I guess. Probably some other playlist. But yeah, solar garden lights are good. Especially, maybe trying to uh, supplement your power. Stuff like that. I mean, if it's sunny out, I mean, like, trying to use that, store that kind of electric, well, kind of power to use later on in terms of lighting up an area later on. I mean, those solar lights, it depends, I think. During the winter, when I try them, sometimes they don't last the whole night. And remember, during the winter, there's up to 16 hours of darkness. Depending on your latitude and stuff like that. And you might get, 7 or 8 hours of daylight. Now, in comparison to the summertime, around summer solstice, where it's 16 hours of daylight and 8 hours of darkness, yeah, those solar lights are gonna last the whole 8 hours, especially if it was sunny out that same day and you charged them. And as a side note, those solar garden lights, depending if it uses, like, let's say a AAA or a AA, even if you can't recharge it, those can still be used as, as another source of light using a regular type of battery, or a different, an alkaline, nickel metal hydride, or lithium type of battery. I thought I had the other one in here. I usually, in this room, I keep one right above the light that I have, just so when I turn off the lights, that light will come on. But I don't have it in here right now. It must be in our room. Hmm. Now, as a side note again, uh, those wind up type of lights. Remember, unless it's a shake light, those shake lights, you're not all crank lights, solar lights, uh, squeeze lights. They all have a battery. You're not getting power for nothing, so to speak. So, and I know those eventually do. Well, I mean, you only have so many recharge cycles for a battery. Eventually, it's just not gonna hold a charge, unfortunately. So, I mean, if you're putting together a kit, for maybe that hand crank light that you put in, that squeeze light you put in, maybe it's better that it's new, or rarely has been used, or pretty fresh. So that way the battery, you're still gonna get a lot of those recharge cycles. And not putting in one that you used for the last 4 years that probably can't maintain that charge as much as well as a newer one can. Now, speak of dynamo type of lights, I've been looking for ones that don't use a CR, uh, like a CR2032 type of button battery, or ones that have, I wouldn't really call it proprietary, but for lack of a better word, I'll use proprietary type of battery. That's, basically it's not AA or AAA. I do have one crank light that uses AA's, I mean AAA's as its source, but it's not that great. And I've been trying to look for more crank or dynamo type of lights than use that, because I think that would be a better option, because you can always hand crank in power to a battery. Like, you got nickel metal hydrate type of rechargeable batteries or whatever. With the one I have, I can put two AA's in, two nickel metal hydrate type of batteries in, keep busy, crank power inside. I mean, I've done it before. I think this is why I keep it in this kit. The only downside is it's the one I acquired, the light source doesn't work, but the power source still works, so that's the reason why I keep it in there. Because I think it's useful enough. I might not have the light source, but I definitely have the recharging of a battery capability. So even if some of these solar lights, whatever, that use AAA or whatever, even if it was sending enough out that day, I can hand crank power in, an hour before sunset and be like, okay, stuff like that. All right, Baba. Thank you for dropping in, the Jewish Redneck Prepper. Always appreciate you dropping by. No, the art of prepping, I've taken one apart. I've taken a squeeze light apart. I mean, I have taken some of these. I think I took a Duracell hand crank one apart before. Always had a battery inside. The only ones I know that use a capacitor are the ones that shake. And for the same reason why those shake ones aren't so, the light output isn't as strong in comparison to the ones that use a battery, because the battery can always output more power than a capacitor can. So yeah, I mean, I used to have one, but I don't know, the light output's not that great on it. But on the bright side, if you did break one or find one, the magnet could be useful. I've seen someone use it as an improvised compass before, those ones with the capacitor with the magnet that goes back and forth. I've seen that before. I haven't tried it personally, but more knowledge to put in the bank. Holy cow, I didn't realize how long I was going for. Yeah, the art of prepping, I sometimes I just take stuff apart just so, and see how it works on the inside. So, I'm not assuming anything. So, just in case I gotta make a repair, or, I gotta grab to stick two parts together, I'd be like, oh hey, I took an XYZ apart before, so let's see if I'm seeing battery, capacitor, or whatever, right? LED bulb, gears to crank power in and stuff like that. So stuff I try. I actually have another project in the works on a different kind of dynamo power, but I've not been able to kind of get it to go because I'm basically trying to, something simple like an LED bulb, trying to get that to work. If I can get it to work, then it looks promising. Then I can make more attempt to make it better. So until I get somewhere, it's just another project. And if I get somewhere with it, obviously you're gonna see a video on it because it's kind of a different form of generating power. Speak of speak of generating power. Um, I know everyone always talks about the solar stuff, but wind and water should be included into the list. I mean, wind power is more expensive. Wind turbines are expensive. Like what, 4 grand for it? I mean, I know over on Kickstarter right now, I've seen videos on it and stuff like that about this uh, hyd- hydro electric generator that uses the movement of water to spin blades to generate electricity. So if you were close by to a river, um, or there's a stream near your place, then that could be an option to get power from, well, hydropower. Yes, yes, of course. And the same reason that I talked about a laptop using it as a power source. Of course, your vehicle could be part of it too. Now, of course, you don't have to run it, right? So, you gotta make a judgment call. What's more important, the power or to save the gas, just in case of emergency? I mean, if you have plenty of gas, you might be like, okay, I don't have a generator, so, okay, I'm gonna charge up my device with it, for example. And speak of charging up your device, you know, I generally say this to a lot of my friends or people that have a dead phone. Put it into airplane mode, dim down the display to next to nothing. Turn off Wi-Fi, turn off Bluetooth while you're charging. You'll kind of, or turn your phone off and charge it. You'll kind of get more of a charge out of it. Because when you're charging when your device is on, well, part of the power that you're trying to put in is going towards, well, powering up the device, lighting up that, display, stuff like that. That's why you know, certain devices or whatever, certain people that live stream on the device or whatever, you know, they're at, 7% or whatever, and they charge it, and they wonder why their battery indicator's not going up. It's because you're still live streaming. You're running video, you're running audio, running Wi-Fi. All that takes power. So if you don't have to use it, but you still want to charge up your device, turn it off, or if you have to keep it on for whatever reason, dim down the display and stuff like that, turn off Bluetooth, stuff like that. Maybe not watch that video right away. uh, yes, thermal power, geoelectric type of power. Now, we do not, as far as I know, we do not have that here in North America. I know over in Iceland they have that, but you know, for most people, it's not the main option just because geothermal, you have to be in the right locations to, well, and have the infrastructure already to kind of utilize or harness that power. I just think solar is probably a more common thing, probably fairly inexpensive in comparison to hydro or wind driven power, turbine type of power. But of course, solar is, affected, and it's only for half the day. While wind and water, the wind can die down, but with water, usually, unless the river dries out or the stream dries out, you don't have a continuous supply of power because it's constantly in the move. But of course, you need access to a water supply that's running fast enough for it. I mean, for me, I wouldn't mind a hydro type of power, as we have lakes and rivers around here. So for me, but until the price comes down, or or I win the lottery, I won't have one yet. Because after buying the first one, I'll already be like, oh, this is so cool. I gotta get another one, right? I gotta put one in my bugger bag. I gotta put one in my get home bag. I gotta EDC one, right? So, uh, since the art department's still in here, um, how many do you, do you keep battery banks with you? Or never mind. He says he's taking off. Never mind. That's okay. That's okay. I was just gonna ask how many battery banks you have. I was just curious, but that's okay. I will catch you later, Dr. Department. Thank you for dropping by, and remember to leave me that comment that you said earlier and message me it. Well, I'll probably end this live stream in the next 5 to 8 minutes. Probably at the bottom of the hour. Real soon here. It's starting to get late, and I did kind of go longer than I thought. I didn't think I would go for 3.5 hours talking about blackout kits and lights out kits and everything that comes because of it, but and it was good to talk to you guys over this live stream. Get to know you guys a little bit better. Understand where you guys are coming from, especially when I see these kid videos from you guys or things from you guys. I'll be like, oh, that makes more sense. XYZ lives down south more, or they live up north more, or they're in Tornado Alley or in hurricane type of on the east coast, areas on the east coast and stuff like that. So I feel like I get to know you guys a little bit better. You guys can hear a few more things that I might not say in my normal videos just because of time. Get a chance to share a few stories um, and stuff like that. I really enjoyed the live streaming with you guys just because, well, it's more interactive. I get to ask a question and, I say a response within like a minute. So, always appreciate every single person that drops by the live stream. Well, virtually everyone. There might be one or two trolls that I don't care about, but you know how it is. You know how it is in the virtual world. Gonna take it with stride. Now, hopefully, I'll remember to not annotate, but end screen and add links to the videos I was talking about. I should have them up once the video's processed, but it depends how long the video is. So, let's see what the So, as a quick kind of overall kind of recap, in this case people are dropping in randomly or whatever, a blackout can happen at any time, any urban type of area, small town. Yeah, a blackout can happen. Anywhere that's connected by the grid. Even, you know, even if you're running independently from the grid, solar or whatever, right? Well, you can have issues with solar, and you created a blackout just because your solar, for whatever reason, maybe the battery's dead, not dead, but or your charge controller's not working or whatever, right? And stuff like that. So regardless of why it happens, man-made, natural, you know, maybe it's a C.M.A. or an E.M.P. coronal mass ejection or an electric magnetic pulse to something more common like thunder showers, thunderstorms, ice storms, to as simple as, you just have the worst luck for that day because someone hit the pole or hit the transformer and knocked it out, and power's going to be knocked out for the next couple hours, for example. Right? Regardless of the cause, having hit such as a blackout or a lights out kit with, a handful of the items I was talking about. I've shown a couple examples. And some knowledge, maybe some building skills, might help too, can help kind of smooth out this hurdle that you're having at that time. So, anyways, it's time for my outro. So, if you enjoyed this video, this live stream, or if you're watching it now, depending how you want to look at it, hit me up on the thumbs up. Check out any of the back library of videos I currently have. Check out any of the videos that I kind of mentioned in this live stream. I'll try to have links or end screen cards for the. You can check out any of the previous live streams that I've done. I mean, any of the content that I've shown. Whether it be the dollar store things, the kits, the fire kits, the solar stuff, the reusing of containers, the scavenging videos, the things I make. Regardless, go check it out. You might find something more interesting or something to learn from or to maybe adapt it to your own situation. So, as the world changes so much oneself to reach a new level of skill and knowledge, one must practice. A single person can't help everyone in this world, but one person, that includes you guys watching this video, and me, can help someone in this world. And remember, even a little thing, a little help, can make a great difference in the world. Or even locally, town, city, province, state, etc., etc. So yeah, remember that one person can help someone in this world. Alright guys, until the next video for me, it's peace out from the guy that's always in creation mode, clearly. It's peace out from CR. Until the next live stream and the next video. Catch you guys later. And take care. Later.